Alright guys, welcome back to the new season. Now a reminder, we're a professional club now, okay? So you gotta actually show up every day for training. And I want you to act like it too in this Champions League because it's my last full tournament here. So I really want to win it. Let's break Auckland City's record, and it's not going to be easy because somehow there's an extra New Zealand team in the competition. So it could be a bit more tricky than usual.
Party in the streets and the city's on fire.
Hello everyone and welcome to episode number 183 of the New Zealand Builder Nation here on Shaun Does FM with Cashmere Technical and the All Whites. I hope you're doing well, and come up today we start our last full tournament in charge here with Cashmere Tech, the 2042 edition of the OFC Champions League. Can we break the record held by Auckland City and grab it for ourselves with 13 titles? But if you missed yesterday's episode, which was the end of the previous season, capped off with the grand final in New Zealand where we took on Auckland United, I'll leave a link to it over in the top right corner, where, as you can see, we picked up a 3-1 win. CDN are the champions of New Zealand going into this Champions League, albeit for some reason this year there's actually 3 New Zealand teams in the Champions League. That might be an effect of us winning the Club World Cup last season, and how they've chosen the third team I'm pretty confused about, but we're going to get through it now as we'll have a look at each of the groups for this year's Champions League. As you can see there, we're in Group A. The game we're going to play in today's episode, fingers crossed it's the only game we're going to need to play, is against the ABM Galaxy. Our first one in this group, hopefully the only one you'll need to see before realising we should be topping this group pretty comfortably. But Group A does mean just one pre-season game in our first season back here as a professional club at Cashmere Technical. But we are in Group A, as I said. ABM Galaxy there from Vanuatu, and the other two teams have already played. AS Olu, they beat Lautoka from Fiji 2-1 in the opening game. Both of their goals came through penalties. So that is how our group looks here for the Champions League this season. Lautoka, the team we're most familiar with, to be the other two teams. Not too sure about either of them, but we'll find out in this first game against the ABM Galaxy. 1-star reputation club. Their key player is Kenzie Wilbur. He's got a couple of decent attributes, but we should be fine as long as we don't give him too many chances from set pieces with 18 jumping reach. But this is definitely a team we should be thumping. Show you guys why we should be going through at the top of this group, as you'd expect for the team who are the best club team in the world at this point of the save. Going into Group B, this is where you'll find the other New Zealand team you expect to be in the Champions League this season in Auckland United in their group. AS Jun's Tahitians, obviously from Tahiti, Navatoka from Tonga, and Simbu FC from Papua New Guinea. So that group is going to be completed around the same time we get through our group. In a week's time, the third New Zealand team, they'll kick off their journey at the Champions League this season. It's Western Suburbs, and I'm super confused about this one because they came about 7th in the National League Championship last season. If we go and look at the Central League, if I can find it, they only finished 3rd, so they won absolutely nothing. We knocked them out quite early in the Chatham Cup as well. I've got no idea what Western Suburbs are doing here, but they could be a very tricky team. As we know from most of the save, there would actually be quite a fitting last game here at Cashmere Tech if we had to beat those guys to try and break that record of Champions League titles. The only more fitting one would have been Auckland City, but these days they're pretty rubbish. But it does mean that each league in New Zealand has a representative in the OFC Champions League this season. Just not too sure how Western Suburbs have got that spot instead of Havelock North or Northern Rovers, who actually made the Chatham Cup final last season. But nonetheless, Western Suburbs, they're in the Champions League this season, Group C, and they are alongside, once we go back down, AS Magenta, Central Coast from the Solomon Islands, and Tapugia Mary from Vanuatu. So a few teams there that we're quite familiar with now at this point of the save. And Group D looks the weakest one, obviously, with no New Zealand team. AS Konono Sports from New Caledonia, Mount Hagen from PNG, Nadi from Fiji, and Nikau Sokotak, who are from the Cook Islands. So those are the groups in the Champions League this season. Very confused about Western Suburbs, but it does mean this could be a bit tricky to win than most years where there's only 2 New Zealand teams in the competition. But of course, we're a 4-star reputation club now at a pretty good transfer budget going into this new season to do some work to try and improve our squad, albeit surprisingly difficult to find improvements despite that reputation rise. You can see not much damage done there to the transfer budget remaining or the wage budget remaining, so really haven't done a lot here in terms of bringing players in for this last season at Cashmere Tech. Of course, we are still technically in the old season. Some of these transfers were from last year, but here's what we have done. We've got rid of a couple of players, Tim Anderson and Jorge Rivera, we covered off in later stages of yesterday's episode. Fabrice Skaka, Jens Helsner, and Thomas Leroux, all players these days who are in the B team or the under-20s. They got picked up on free severely. Not much damage done off the back of yesterday's episode, just those departures of Rivera and Anderson. But going to this new season, we have signed 4 players, 2 of them to fill the under-20 void for those couple of games we're going to need to play in the National League. Those are Simon Lafredo, who to be fair could be a decent squad player for us with that sale of Tim Anderson, because we picked him up for £120,000, the only money we spent in this window, is a centre-back, so that's the reason that we bought him, and doesn't actually look that great in terms of attributes, but we did need someone off the back of that sale of Anderson. Thought we may as well bring in an option who did cover one of those under-20 spots. The former Juventus man, he joins us here at Cashmere Tech for this last season, albeit probably won't feature too much on camera in the Champions League games, fingers crossed, unless we get some injuries. And the other under-20 option is above him in Gianfranco Suna, who we got on a free from Sporting Cristal over in Peru, and he will be the second choice balling midfielder these days in between Corona and Marcus Vinicius. He looks like a half-decent player, does the 19-year-old who's pretty good on either foot and does have a couple of nice attributes. So to be fair, he looks a bit better than the one that we actually spent some money on from Juventus, but those are our 2 under-20 players we've bought in for this season. If Ireland gets injured, got a couple hiding away in our under-20s with a bit of potential that we can use if we need to, like in particular of Peter Assayas, a deep-line playmaker with 4 stars potential, and also Steve Mason, who is a left-back. Those 2 players having come for our youth intakes over the last couple of years here at Cashmere Tech. But a few other players that we have picked up going into this final season. We'll just go back here a few more clicks and should get on the right screen. First off, an extra striker. That is Francisco Goncalves. To be fair, we actually signed him not too long off the back of yesterday's episode. Australian, 20 years old, formerly of Excelsior over, I believe, in the Netherlands. Indeed, that is the case. He's actually come up through the Eredivisie, which is a bit interesting, but he looks relatively decent and quite a bit of potential. He's a quite good pickup on a free transfer, currently on a non-contract, but he was a good pickup, especially for no money at all. So we grabbed him up. Hopefully, he'll stay around in New Zealand long enough in the future once we leave to be an option for the All Whites, and hopefully does fulfill that 5-star potential. And also, we pinched a player off Western Suburbs, albeit it was 2 days too late for him to be registered for us for the Champions League, but it does mean he can't play for them. And to be fair, when I put the bid in for him, I didn't actually realise Western Suburbs were going to be in the Champions League, so it wasn't deliberate, but Jimson Bibby comes in as a new backup to Sam Clark in that deep line playmaker role, at least in terms of until we need an under-20 option, as you saw before in Peter Assayas. But he has been doing a pretty decent job here in New Zealand over the last 6 years or so, and is pretty well rounded, but younger than someone like Tristan Turner, who's now been at the club for a fair while, the former Australian. But we'll pick him up. He's a local who can do a decent job when Sam Clark's a bit tied off the back of international duty. So those are the 4 players that were signed going to this new season. Nothing too special. It does mean our first choice 11 is pretty much intact off the back of what it was going to that National League Grand Final in yesterday's episode. And thankfully, no injury concerns either. Craig Johnston is back from his damaged Achilles tendon, is only recommended though for 45 minutes. That really is the only player we get to bench from our usual first choice 11 for this first game of the Champions League. But to be fair, that just means that Alex Moore keeps his spot up front that he did have going into that final that you did see in yesterday's episode. We're over here for the Champions League this season at the Port Vila Municipal Stadium. I'm very sure we've done a bus trip there already over in Vanuatu, starting to run our grounds, do bus trips too, which is probably a sign that the save does need to come to an end off the back of the World Cup coming up this year with the All Whites, and also the fact that I really did struggle to improve the squad, even with that transfer budget and that reputation boost, probably suggests we can't do much more work here at Cashmere Technical. So at least in terms of the club side of the save, it does feel like this is going to be a good season to depart as long as we pick up this Champions League to break that record of Auckland City, and hopefully we can get our campaign off here to a good start with a win over the ABM Galaxy. And here's the first team sheet for our final season here at Cashmere Tech, our first game in the Champions League. There are the ABM Galaxy in the red. They are going with a 4-3-3. In terms of us, just one change we kind of ran through before. Johnson only recommended it for 45 minutes, so it does mean Alex Moore is up front. But apart from that, that's our first choice 11, and you'd expect us to start things off with a pretty comfortable win. And in fact, we get a highlight here right from the kickoff, so it could be a bit of an interesting game coming up here if we can get on the front foot early. If it's the other way around, that would certainly spice things up at early stages here, just knocking it back to Hosar for him and Zajic. Definitely the first choice in the back combo this year with the departure of Tim Anderson. But Young slots through the Alex Moore, who to be fair was pretty poor in that National League Championship Grand Final yesterday. That time he's on target from the very start, and that is a super quick goal here, just over 20 seconds in. Moore times that run perfectly and beats the Janiri at his near post. It's a brilliant start. Could be a long day at the office though for our opposition as we 1-0 up inside a minute. And we had to wait a little while for the next highlight in this game, just shy of the 20-minute mark here, but it is a throw in our favour. But definitely haven't kicked on as much as I thought we would off the back of that early goal. Rivas there tries a shot from a tight angle, but Janiri actually tips that one over the bar quite nicely. So far, all the action in our favour, but not as many highlights as I thought there'd be off the back of that goal inside a minute. We try and float that ball far post for Zajic. He won't win the race to that ball. They'll clear it away. Rivas will tidy things up, but that highlights over off the back of that a free kick to Antunes. Tries to curve that one top right corner, but it just goes wide. Still 1-0. The scoreline isn't blown out as much as I hoped it would, albeit we get a highlight here from the goal kick and win the ball back there. Jonas Otto makes his way down our left-hand side, the player of the tournament from the Club World Cup. Tries to square that one, takes a deflection, and it goes back out to Jose Rivas, who this time will hit the target. Nothing Janiri can do about that one from a pretty similar angle, obviously being the right back on attack. But Sam Clark here played this one to Otto with a big deflection from a defender, goes out to Rivas. They kind of sag off him and puts that one just inside of that left hand upright into the top corner. And eventually we take a 2-0 lead, and maybe it's going to get worse, or this game will come back to life as there's a highlight from the kickoff here. ABM Galaxy are on the ball and are keeping it currently pretty decently. I think that was Willow there who plays that ball forward, but good interception from Sousa, and we now get it forward to Otto back out there. The Sousa puts that one into the mixer, and I'm pretty sure the goalkeeper there just pushed our striker over, which is interesting considering he probably could have claimed that ball quite safely, but gives here Jonas Otto a chance to make it 3-0, sends him the wrong way and puts it away in the bottom left corner. Jonas Otto with his first goal of this new season, albeit technically still not. We'll praise the guys off back of that quick fire double. Bit of a gift that one, but 3-0 halfway through the first half. And not too long off the back of that third goal, now we've got a corner here looking far post here for Antunes. It's a wonderful ball that from Alex Moore. Still a bit surprised actually he's our best set piece taker, being quite a tall striker. You'd think he'd be quite useful inside the box, but that is good work from him there. Floats that one there for Antunes, who heads it home nicely. We beat Janiri again and make it 4-0. And the quick fire action continues now just past the half-hour mark here. Goal kick there to ABM Galaxy. We win that one and hit it down to Young, who picks out Rivas. Got that goal to make it 2-0. Squares that one, looking there for Alex Moore. Can't quite find it, but Rivas then puts it back, and Antunes looking for a quick fire double. That time actually quite a good save from Janiri to keep this one at 4-0. Fair play to him so far. Been a bit of an interesting game. Did look like he gave away that penalty before, but he makes up for it there with a good save. Nothing doing off the back of that corner. Still 4-0 Cashmere, albeit not too fast as he's now here throwing inside of the final third. Sam Clark gets that one back. Otto puts it into the mixer this time, and Antunes will beat Janiri. That makes it 5-0, and he gets himself on a hat-trick nice and early. Does Antunes these days, our highest earner off the back of getting rid of Jorge Rivera, who had that same clause, so thankfully that's actually saved us quite a bit of wage budget going into this new season. But Otto, nice ball there to be fair, not too sure if it was a cross or a shot, but Antunes will put it home and make it 5-0. And we're just about to make our way here into injury time in the first half of this Champions League opener. 5-0 in front, 7 shots on target. So our ratio in terms of goals scored is pretty good in this one. We've now got to throw in deep in injury time here inside the final third. Otto loses the ball, but it goes back there to Jamie Young. It's a wonderful curving effort. That's probably going to be up there for goal of this little part of the season. We're going to play before we leave Cashmere Tech, because that is a very good curving effort. Rather fortunately did get that ball back, but thankfully right place, right time, and can put that one away. Actually, pretty good work there from the defender, but that's just a ridiculous finish that from Jamie Young. No stopping that one for Janiri, and a very good late period for us there in that first half. Really kicked into gear after that opening goal. It did quieten down, but then from the 23-minute mark on, we scored 4 goals inside about 15 minutes, grabbed one really late there in injury time to make it 6-0. The way it's going, obviously, no subs needed just yet with this big lead at halftime. And it takes us just under 10 minutes to get the first highlight of the second half with this 6-0 lead, and we are having to make our way here out from the back, albeit it doesn't take us too long. For some reason, they give Rivas there quite a bit of space down our right-hand side. Young plays it back to Clark in there for Antunes, who just gets a ton of space inside the box. They're really sagging there off our players on our right-hand side, which is a bit of an interesting strategy that usually we would score quite a few goals from. But Antunes there with a simple tapping off back of this nice ball from Sam Clark. To be fair, there's a lot of bodies in the way that should have stopped that ball from getting to him, but he completes a hat-trick and makes it 7-0. And we've just hit the hour mark in this game. May as well make some subs now, as a couple of players are dropping down to slightly deep yellow hearts. Debenham can come on for Rivas, also Khaled for Antunes off the back of completing the hat-trick. And also, let's give Johnston some game time coming back from that big injury. Half hour left, and it's a rugby score, 7-0. And going forward about 10 minutes off there, those previous subs so far, the second half actually has been a little bit quiet. We'll make our last couple here to complete this game. Bowden can come on at left back there for Sousa. Otto and Sam Clark are on slightly deep yellow hearts. Let's bring on Victor Odino, the Kenyan who so far has been lurking in our B team, to get some game time sooner. We could also bring on, but of course all our subs used now, so we can't do that. Shaun, so those are our final subs there. Odino as well as Bowden. They come on a highlight off the back of that, and it was there the ABM Galaxy who were on the ball, but a bit of a poor pass forward there, and we win that ball back. Hosafa takes his time before playing that one to Walid Khaled. These days actually going to be the first choice All Whites right winger, because Justin Keat, he's retired. So this next World Cup, our final one, I'm starting to get not too confident going into it, because we're losing lots of players, but lovely ball that from Jonas Otto. Craig Johnston will head that one home. That makes it 8-0, and he's back in the goals only a couple of minutes, in fact about 10, off the back of us bringing him on his first game back from that big injury. He puts that one away as per usual with his big header tall lad. He comes back with a goal to make it 8-0. And just about to make our way into the last 5 minutes of this game, and it does look like this one might finish 8-0. It's been a very comfortable performance for us here, well and truly on the front foot, albeit a highlight here. A corner, Otto squares that one, and Craig Johnston will poke it home to make it 9-0, and he could try and complete a hat-trick here in only a half hour on the field and get us into double digits to make it 10-0. So will we do this late here, make it double digits late on, but Jonas Otto sets up another goal, and Johnston, as you'd expect from our first choice striker, pokes that one home nicely into the bottom right corner. We make our way into only 2 minutes of added time, so unfortunately doesn't look like there'll be time for Johnston to complete a hat-trick off of the bench. But Antunes, he grabbed one just off the back of half-time. Johnston, he grabbed two. There are also goals there to Rivas, Young with an absolute screamer, and Alex Moore, and we complete a 9-0 thrashing there of the ABM Galaxy. Should be pretty comfortably going through here, top of the group in the Champions League this season here at Cashmere Tech. We'll come back shortly, make sure we did that, and check in on the other two New Zealand teams before we see when we're going to take them on in the knockouts. So a very comfortable win there to start this last season at Cashmere Tech, this last tournament. Anyway, not going to be here for the whole season because there's not much point. But as you can see, very comfortable group stage for us there. We topped it 9 points from 9, a 25 goal differential backing up that 9-0 win over the ABM Galaxy with a 6-1 win over Lautoka. To be fair, this game was a little bit dicey late on in the first half, conceded quite early off the back of a Walid Khaled penalty, but thankfully he went on to score 3 more goals, also sooner with a first goal for the club, as well as Brandon De Beer getting back in the action, the backup these days to Jonas Otto, and thanks to a pretty good finish there to the first half, we pick up a 6-1 win over the Fijians. The other game on that match day in the group, AS Aru, they beat the ABM Galaxy, so to be fair, that meant there was absolutely nothing riding on the final day in our group. AS Aru had already gone through, and thankfully for them, that was the case, because we beat them 11-0, and Tunis with another hat-trick. Johnston, he grabbed a double. Diakate, our third choice central attacking midfielder, up from the B team for this tournament, just to make sure we have the numbers. He grabbed 4 goals, also goals there to Zajic, and there was a late own goal, so an absolute thrashing there of the team who finished second in our group to wrap it up for us. And the other game, that ended up being a 2-0 win to the ABM Galaxy, so they grabbed third place, and Lautoka were the whipping boys of our group. Now we check in on how the other New Zealand teams did. Group B, this was where Auckland United were, and their first time in the Champions League in the save. They get the job done 3 wins from 3, 2-0 over Navatoka, 3-2 over AS Junis Tahitians, who finished second in the group. So to be fair, that stacks up quite well, and they beat Simbu FC 3-0 on the final match day. Junis Tahitians picked up wins in the other 2 games, either side of that close outing against Auckland United. So it does mean we can't take on Auckland United until the semis at the earliest. Will that also be the case for Western Suburbs? So to be fair, do definitely look the weakest New Zealand team in this competition this year, because they were pretty rubbish last year. Still not too sure why they're here, but they got the job done. 3 wins from 3, 2-0 over AS Magenta, backed up with a 3-1 win over the Central Coast, and 5-2 over to Pugiamiri. So despite the fact we picked up one of their best players there in Bibi, they topped the group. AS Magenta just do enough there to go through second by 1 point over to Pugiamiri and the Central Coast. They finished bottom of that group. In the final group, no New Zealand teams, but Nadi with a perfect record. Nikau Soccer they come second from the Cook Islands, and Mount Hagen and AS Konono Sports, they get knocked out there of what the weakest group with no New Zealand team. In Group D, so all the New Zealand teams there doing a good job, as did Nadi from Fiji, but it does mean the earliest we can take on a fellow New Zealand team this year is the semis as per usual, but it could be a bit trickier with those 2 New Zealand teams instead of just one. So let's see when we're going to take them on at the earliest in the Champions League this season, or if we get quite a kind draw and they face off against each other in the semis instead of one of them taking us on first up. Got the quarterfinals. This should be a pretty comfy watch and a pretty comfy round, probably something I'm going to play off camera. Auckland United, they got AS Magenta. We have got Nikau Soccer Tech. That's going to be a mouthful, so I definitely think I'll take them on camera. The team from the Cook Islands, they are only half a star reputation. We should be pretty sweet against those guys who seem to be copying our colours, going back to seeing who Western Suburbs get here in the quarterfinals. They'll take on AS Uru, the team that we just beat 11-0. And the last quarterfinal, that's Nadi versus AS Junis Tahitians. That definitely looks the most interesting of those quarterfinals. But now the most interesting bit, with 2 New Zealand teams, the semis, will we have to take one of them on before we take on another in the final you'd expect. First up out of the hat, Auckland United or AS Magenta. Will we take on the team that we beat in the National League Championship Grand Final in the semis? No, we won't, because the 2 New Zealand teams that are not us get drawn against each other there, provided they get past the ASs in the quarters. So it does mean we can probably skip forward to the final to wrap up our time here at Cashmere Tech, as long as we get past Nikau Soccer Tech and then one of Nadi or AS Junis Tahitians. There's our path through there to the final. We definitely should be taking on a New Zealand team in the final. It just depends if it's going to be Auckland United or Western Suburbs who've somehow fluked their way into the Champions League this season. But that will do it for today's episode, starting off the new season here by making our way through the group as per usual of the OFC Champions League. Also a couple of transfers as well, mainly just to make sure we have some under 20 options for the couple of domestic games that I am going to play before we wrap up this Champions League. But if you enjoyed this one, then do remember to go down below, leave a thumbs up on the video, and if you haven't done so already and are enjoying the series here on the channel, also make sure to hit that subscribe button and turn that notification bell on as well. Now tomorrow, before I get stuck into the quarterfinal where we take on Nikau Soccer Tech, we do have, I believe, our last international window with the All Whites before the World Cup, and it is going to be an African adventure yet again. We're going to take on the Ivory Coast and Senegal, 2 teams just inside of the top 20. So they're both ranked below us, but to be fair, the way their last window went, that could be quite tricky considering we just got past Chile and Turkey. Both these teams are ranked a bit high, but to be fair, they are teams that we have beaten before, hopefully can do the same yet again and carry that momentum in to that World Cup to wrap up the save. And that should be what we come back for next week. To be fair, we might now be in the last couple of episodes of this Save Nelson forward, and we'll see what happens here off the back of us leaving someone like hopefully Chiefy from Wellington Phoenix in charge of the national team. But until tomorrow for an African adventure with the All Whites, thank you very much for watching. Keep on keeping on, and I'll see you then. Cheers.